New gift marker types, Nova's VR, the first 2 nation strides. There is so much amazingness in this stream today.
Take a look at who I am now. I'm stronger than ever. And if you ever doubted me, you should've known better.
So as always, we are covering the things that have been revealed in the Vanguard stream that usually happens weekly. And so the first thing we have to discuss is this interesting sentence. New gift marker effects announced on Thursday, April 18th. This is very interesting. So the first question we ask is, does this mean we have a new type of marker, or does it mean existing markers get new effects? So like a fourth kind of type, or Force, Excel and Protect getting new effects. I think it's the latter, because it would be weird to suddenly give new units, new imaginary gifts with different clans. Like, that makes no sense. However, let's say you ride your Force grade 3 and you get a new marker, and you can choose whether it's a Force that gives 10k or a Force with some other skill. That could be very interesting, because suddenly you actually get lines of play in Standard. Now, I don't even want to debate this. Right now, Standard is quiet. Oh, I write my thing, I get my marker, I call dudes and swing. There aren't many options, there aren't many lines of play one can make that really impact a lot of the game. Once we get a kind of choice to make when you ride your grade 3, no matter what you rode, then that becomes very interesting. Unless, of course, new grade 3s are something like it's Force, but Force 2.0. So this grade 3 can only make a new Force, and the old grade 3 can only make an old. But that sounds weird. I don't think they would do that. That would be very lame. So instead, I think we're gonna see something like ride a grade 3, which has Excel or Protect, and then have the choice between multiple gift marker effects. I don't know how this will play out, but this is very interesting. As I said, in Standard, it finally introduces some lines of play. And then in Premium, where you already have many lines of play, you'll certainly have even more. A final thing to consider in new gift effects, if it's the way, well, that I'm thinking right now, is that it can better help certain clans. For example, right now, certain gifts help specific clans more than others. If you think about it, Angel Feather is helped quite a lot by the fact that Protect is a Sentinel. They not only heal damage away, but they can also start guarding Vanguard attacks for free. So they can just guard Vanguard for free, take the damage from the rear, and always stay at the same damage. It's very, very easy for them. Whilst another deck, like maybe Grand Blue, can't abuse a Protect marker quite as much. If we suddenly have an option that you ride in Grand Blue, for example, Baskirk, and you get another kind of effect that's maybe better suited to the clan's playstyle, then that can be very interesting. We could finally see certain clans doing better because of the way the marker works. Mega Colony is another one of those. Like, they don't really do much with their Protect marker. So if they were given options, that'd be really cool. However, this is all speculation. All we know is new gift marker effect on Thursday. We'll see what that actually entails specifically in, well, 2 days. Then we got some card reveals. Some rares that don't really look like main cards for the Beast DT deck that we already saw from the past set. But then we also got the VR, and then things started making much more sense. So we got a Nova Grade 1 Kiddo who looks like Mega Man meets Beyblade meets Hero Kid from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something like that. Very interesting art. It's called Spin Kid, and it says, when ridden from a grade 0, cost reveal a spinning Valiant from your hand and deal 1 damage to your and your opponent's Vanguard. You perform the damage check before your opponent. You're essentially getting an extra drive check on grade 1, but you're dealing yourself damage, but you're also dealing your opponent some damage. That's interesting. We'll see if this is actually worth it after people start testing with it. We also got a Nova Grade 2 auto on V and R. When your other rearguard is retired by the ability of your opponent's card, cost Soul Blast 1 and put one of those cards into your hand. If Shadow starts emptying your field, you can now Soul Blast to get stuff back. And an auto on R. When it attacks, this unit gets power +3 until end of that battle for each card in your damage zone. We're already getting value from the fact that Spin Kid is damaging yourself. However, is that +3 really worth damaging yourself? Maybe it is actually, because you deal your opponent damage, meaning by the end of the game they have less defensives to take. Then we have a Nova Grade 3 called Girly Dolly. Continuance on V and R. If you have 5 or more heroes on R, all of your guardians get shield plus 10. So you have a full field, or well, almost full once you start counting Excel circles, and suddenly you get plus 10,000 shield on all your guardians, making everything way easier to guard. And it looks like it stacks. So if you have 3 of this, all your guardians get plus 30. Now, of course, if you have 3 of them, your opponent will be like, maybe I want to start attacking those to get rid of that nasty annoyingness. Then we have another Nova Grey 3, but this time in the VR, and it looks like another Beyblader. It has continuous on V. All units can only hit Vanguards. This is very interesting with that new support, because that new support makes it so it gets massive value of having loads of rearguards, as we saw with Girly Dolly. On top of that, they can't attack those rearguards either. And then when they retire your rearguards with effects, the grade 2 will actually put them back into your hand anyway. So that's really interesting, because all these cards are really meshing together. We'll have to see if that's good enough. And an auto on V, when it attacks, if your front row has 4 or more units. So that's almost always, as long as you have something on Excel, the 2 rears, and then your Vanguard, you have the 4 or more condition. This unit gets power plus 10,000. Then, cost. Counterblast 4. Now you may say, oh, that's so expensive. Remember, Nova does have CC, but more importantly, this skill is so insane, it had to be behind the Counterblast 4. And also remember, you already have that grade 1 that's self-damaging, so it looks like this deck really wants to damage itself, get value from that, fill the field, and then just go all out. Because remember, this VR already makes it so your opponent can only attack your Vanguard, not your rearguard. So you will have a bit more damage than usual. And then you just use this Counterblast 4 skill to probably kill your opponent. And here's why. And when your opponent would call from his or her hand to G, he or she must call 3 or more at the same time. And apparently that is for the rest of the turn, not for just this battle. That is what I'm getting from people translating. Now, if it's just for him, that's garbage, right? But if it's for the rest of the turn, and that's what people are saying, that is nuts. Because just having 4 rearguards is already 12 cards out of their hand if they have to guard it all. 15 if you have another Excel circle. This is probably just the kill turn. Now then we get to premium collection reveals. We have the Genesis Stride, Complete Beauty, Amaruda, Afros. People who are fans of Amaruda are probably very happy to see this card back. It says act on V once per turn, cost Counterblast 1, and turn a card from your G-Zone face up. Any card. Until end of turn, one of your rearguards gets power plus 10k and a crit. And if your soul has 4 or less cards, draw 2 cards and soul charge 5. That is a lot, especially because you're already pumping up your rearguard, you're flipping something face up, you're drawing 2. It's a lot if you haven't been soul charging in the early game. And then on V, at the end of the battle that it attacked, cost Soul Blast 15. That is a big cost. Stand one of your rearguards, so that means you've probably given one of your rears the big power and the crit already, swung with that first, then swing with this, stand that again. And until end of your turn, your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand, just at all. No Sentinels. That is sweet because it doesn't block just grade 0s or grade 1s. It blocks all the Sentinels. That is big. But Soul Blast 15 is a big cost, so you should probably try to win on this turn. It is a good first stride setup. I don't know if its finishing move is good enough. Perhaps. I'm honestly not big enough of a Genesis player to really be able to say if this is what the clan needed or if this will do a lot for them. I do think the first stride effect is amazing, but I don't know if it scales well enough beyond that. So if you're a Genesis fanatic in Premium or G, just let me know and we can learn from each other. Then, we finally got cards we've been waiting for oh so damn much. We have received the Nation Strides, well 2 so far, and they share some skills, so we can assume it's the same for all of them. First of all, we have the Nation Stride for United Sanctuary. Progenitor Dragon of Total Purity Agnos. Stride. Discard a card with the same card name as a card on your V. Stride this card on your V from face down. So, this is a regular stride. It is not an ultimate stride. But you do have to discard a card with the exact same name. Now, what I am wondering is, do Ange and Luard and Chrono Jet Z bypass this because this is a regular stride skill. Dragfall Luard says you can pay its cost instead of the stride cost, so that would mean Luard can just do this anyway. I'm not sure. That'd be interesting to see. Same for Chronojet. And then Ange, well, Ange already fetches herself anyway, but I still do wonder if you can just use her calling skill instead. I don't know. I will have to check with judges on that. So you're essentially paying the ultimate stride cost. You don't have to have face-up things in the G-zone, but it is a regular stride, and you do not lose your G-zone. It also has a continuous skill in the G-zone. It says this card cannot be turned face-up by abilities. So if your stride wants to flip something face-up, it cannot be this stride. And it also says if this card is face-up, you can stride without paying the stride cost. So if you first stride this, then for the rest of the game, you don't have to pay the stride cost. And then it has another skill, Auto on V. When placed, cost Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. Call as many cards from your hand to R as possible and draw 3 cards. Now you may think, oh, that means I empty my whole hand. No. You just have to fill all the circles you can and anything else you can keep. And then you draw 3 on top. If you have a lot of hand already, you only lose 5. But you were gonna call rearguards anyway, I assume, and then you draw 3 on top of that. So this is not some amazing finisher, and I'm really happy for that. This isn't trying to outpower creep and Ultima. This is just another option in your toolkit, and that's exactly what we needed from this set, so I'm very happy for that. Now in Ezel, you do have to empty your hand quite a bit more, obviously. You're being asked to fill as many circles as possible, but you have like 6 or 7. But since you usually have a small hand anyway, maybe not even 4 or something, you just empty your hand, draw 3, and then have your drive checks on top of that. So maybe that's actually fine in this instance. I don't know exactly how this card will play out. I am not too stoked on the fact that you have to discard a card with the same card name as your card on V. There's one interesting thing we can also discuss about this. Since it has to be the same name, it becomes very annoying to have V grade 3s with the same name in hand if you want to stride this first. However, old grade 3s from G era have stride fodders which can fetch the correct name. So suddenly there may be more value in running something like Alt Mile with stride fodder that fetches for that Alt Mile anyway, because you now have the required name to do this. So in the early game, if you have the correct Alt Mile in your hand, you call Sisilus, you fetch the other Alt Mile, and so you can ride Alt Mile, stride into this. That is an option. So depending on how strong these nation strides actually turn out, there may be value in going back to some of those G boss cards who then give you the correct target. Again, we'll have to see. This will really change testing. If you're trying to test for Premium Collection, wow, you have a lot to try and figure out right now. Then we got another nation stride, the one for Dragon Empire. And this one is Progenitor Dragon of Lightning Flame Gilgal. Again, same stride cost. Discard a card with the same card name as your card on V. Stride this card on your V from face down. And then continuous in the G zone. This card cannot be turned face up by abilities. If this card is face up, you can stride without paying the stride cost yet again. However, it then has an act skill on V. Cost Counterblast 2. Soul Blast 1. Until end of turn, this unit battles all of your opponent's units in one attack and gets power plus 10,000. And when its attack hits, counter charge 1. Now this is amazing for Overlord. Why am I saying this? You can run the grade 1 Conroe who can fetch you literally any Overlord you need and just wipe an opponent's field. And you may say, oh, when its attack hits, counter charge 1. But the question is, it hits multiple times. Like, depending on the amount of rearguards your opponent has, if you're up against Ezel, you're counter-charging 7, so to speak. If it actually stacks. Again, I don't know. Just so many options are going through my mind right now. Like, certain clans are hurt by this so damn much. If you're playing something like Luard, who has been building those Nemains and those Swordbreakers, you wipe their entire field. And sure, you can say, okay, you help with their ritual. That is true, but they also have to start building a field from scratch again. If you're playing against Ezel, you know they are shitting out their whole hand on the first turns. And then you suddenly wipe that all in one go, countercharge like a bunch, and then they have to start from scratch. Then they have to start calling triggers to make Unite happen again. They have no way to recover from such blow. Like, this is so good. Especially because it's helping a lot of clans that aren't doing too well right now. Like, Nubatama discard is a good deck right now, but if they can't go Rinne, this isn't gonna help them. If you bird their field away, this card doesn't do much anymore. So it's not actually helping the Nubatama discard build quite as much. It's just another option, but it's not furthering their power. But then every other clan in Dragon Empire who does need a little buff suddenly gets to use this card. But again, what I'm really liking is that neither of these so far are super busted, oh, I stride this and I win cards. So if you are, let's say you're playing Luard in the coming meta after Premium Collection, the amount of options you have to stride is actually nuts. You can either go Drag Abyss to fill field. You can go Morfessa if you think you can reach the ritual counts to just go nuts. Or if you think, oh, I have so much field, I want some more hand instead. I want to sack some of those Nemains and those Swordbreakers I got from the early game. You can go into Ogma if Ogma setup is ready. You can go into this Nation Stride if you think like, oh, I don't have a board, I fill this, I draw and so forth. There are just so many things you can do, and it's all in your G-Zone in that amazing toolbox. And I love that this Premium Collection so far isn't pushing you towards just spamming one stride, which again wouldn't be that terrible because there's still loads of depth in the lines of play you can do beyond that, but this just adds on top of that depth. Now that is all for today. This is a long ass video. There were just so many reveals that we really had to cover. Subscribe to the Solemn Vanguard channel, click the bell button to stay up to date, like the video if you liked the video, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I will see you soon. Ciao.